My name is Emma Peters, and I'm the Senior Manager, Stakeholder Engagement for Local Buy. And I'm joined today by Debbie Spann, Category Manager for Planning, Assets and Project Management Arrangements. Today, we are here to explain a little bit about Local Buy and two new arrangements which give your business an opportunity to work on local government building and construction projects. And they are LB329, Building and Construction, Commercial Construction fit out, including asbestos and demolition, and LB331, building and construction residential. The acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Local Buy acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land, respecting the lands and waters that give us life, into which the songlines, stories, ancestors, and dreamings of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are woven. We pay respects to all First Nations people and elders past, present, and emerging. Local Buy is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Local Government Association of Queensland, also known as the LGAQ. Local Buy was established in 2001 to assist council simplify procurement. The LGAQ is the peak body for local government in Queensland, and all 77 councils are members. The LGAQ represents the interests of Queensland local government as a group to higher levels of government, both state and federal. Local Buy returns all profits to the LGAQ, which helps offset council membership fees. When council officers purchase goods and services on behalf of council, they must adhere to the procurement rules set down in the Local Government Regulations 2012. These rules include obtaining quotes and tenders depending on the value of the procurement activity being undertaken. To explain simply, if council are purchasing goods and services between 15,000 and 200,000, they must obtain 3 written quotes. If council are purchasing goods and services over $200,000, they must perform a full and open tender. The $200,000 tender threshold applies to a cumulative spend with one supplier for similar goods and services within a financial year. So, tendering is a really long and arduous process, both for councils and suppliers. And it's estimated that it costs local government entities about $20,000 per tender to issue, and suppliers around $5,000 to respond. Local buy is an exception in the local government regulations, which means if council engage with a local buy pre-qualified supplier, they do not have to perform tenders, even if the procurement activity is over $200,000. Local Buy is a highly recognised brand within local government, and all councils access Local Buy to simplify their procurement. Last financial year, over $850 million was procured through Local Buy arrangements, and Queensland state government departments and not for profit entities are increasingly using Local Buy arrangements. Now I'm going to pass across to Debbie, who's going to tell us a little bit more detail about the exciting new construction arrangements.
Thanks, Emma. Okay, so just to provide some background, Local Buy established and maintained a civil construction arrangement for many years, which is heavily utilised by local government. Councils across Queensland requested that Local Buy develop a structural construction arrangement, and we are delighted to be going to market for these new arrangements in February 2024. The LB329 and the 331 building and construction categories are broken down into relevant categories to suit the construction industry, relevant to commercial and residential. A QBCC license, along with other relevant information, will be necessary for the relevant categories. The 3 main building licenses include Builder Low Rise, Builder Medium Rise, and Builder Open. Categories that are not under the QBCC licensing will be required to provide licensing information for the relevant disciplines. For example, asbestos demolition and associated works. Also, suppliers will be required to provide 2 case studies, examples of similar works for relevant categories that they are tendering for, and suppliers are to provide evidence of their membership relevant to the bodies of which they can also showcase on their vendor panel. This, for example, is your master builders and HIA. The LB329 building and construction, commercial construction and fit out includes the following categories. Commercial construction associated works such as offices, sports facilities, warehouses, car parks, stadiums, factories, and other public buildings. Public infrastructure, which includes landscaping, boardwalks, and water parks. Office and building fit out, which includes office parks, kitchens, displays, amenities, and libraries. Building fit out, visual interactive infographic platforms, including art galleries, interactive displays, murals, status, and wayfinding. These are particularly relevant to libraries, museums, tourism facilities. Demolition works, including demolishing of buildings, removal and disposal, and clearing. Asbestos removal, separated into the two classes, both Class A and Class B licenses, and these are issued by WorkSafe. The final category is asbestos assessment, including air monitoring and issuing of clearance certificates. The categories for the arrangements are expansive and they're not limited to these examples and are also inclusive of any associated works with the project, for example, civil car parks, entries, and or DA requirements associated with that structural build. I highly recommend reading the specification in detail when considering which categories to respond to on the tender. The LB331 building and construction residential includes the following categories: modular, transportable, and prefabricated buildings, construction of new residential dwellings, covering Class 1 buildings, hostels, backpackers, and boarding houses, apartment buildings and multi-use accommodation, such as apartment buildings and duplexes, care facilities, and all associated works, building refurbishment and remediation, including facility upgrades and repairs, non-habitable buildings such as sheds, carports, garages, fences, retainer walls, and bushfire shelters. Please note also, pricing is not required for these two arrangements. Local Buy's reasoning is that it is not possible to obtain meaningful prices or even unit prices for most services without project-specific information, including the project size, project location. Purchasers may utilise this arrangement to obtain competitive pricing from pre-qualified suppliers through a request for quote process. In light of the housing and accommodation shortage, this arrangement is a high priority in many of our regions.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Now, the tender will open on Monday, the 12th of February 2024 and close at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, the 13th of March 2024. As part of the tender process, you'll be assessed against several criteria. Local Buy has a legislated requirement to demonstrate that suppliers appointed to our arrangements have the financial, managerial, and technical capability to deliver the associated goods and/or services. Tenderers will be required to hold public liability insurance to a level of $20 million. If performing design works, professional indemnity insurance at $2 million per occurrence. If supplying products, you must hold products liability at $20 million and you must possess statutory work cover insurance unless you're a sole trader. Quality, environmental, and workplace health and safety management systems will need to be demonstrated. Tenderers will be required to complete a template for each category, which demonstrates 2 project examples for works applicable to that category. Please read the information supplied and fully complete the templates. Be aware that the persons assessing your response may not have had any experience with your company and will mark your response only on the information that you provide. Both arrangements will have an initial 3-year term with 2 additional 36-month extension options. Our expectation would be that the arrangements will operate for a full 9-year term. These building and construction arrangements will complement the existing arrangements and provide a solution for a wider range of buildings for council. And Local Buy recognises that both suppliers and councils are equal partners in the success of our arrangements, and the contracts are intended to offer an equitable share of risk between principal and contractor. The contract management fee for the new arrangements will be 1%. The contract management fee is the amount appointed suppliers pay to Local Buy for work obtained under the arrangement. Councils have been asking Local Buy to form construction arrangements for some time, and we're confident that there will be an extensive usage of the arrangements across Queensland. If you have any questions about the two new arrangements, please contact our category manager, Debbie Spann. And here are Debbie's details. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or queries. And Debbie and I would both like to thank you very much for listening to our webinar today.